Hi there, I'm Shiona McAllister. I'm the Operations Manager for the Isle of Man Primary Care Network.
So my first question to you then is probably, what is the Primary Care Network?
Okay, the network's actually a board of members which are represented by each GP practice on the island. So it's a non-clinical role that I'm in, but in that role I have regular, if not daily, contact with the practice managers, which is one of the reasons I wanted to be here today. I don't have first-hand experience of this abuse we're talking about. What I have got is what I'm hearing from the team, and I wanted to be here to offer some support and give another perspective, which is from me as reasonably new in this role, having come from simply a patient in a practice to working with these people.
And how has your perspective shifted then? So going from patient to, overseeing this sort of work?
Well, as a patient, I didn't really care, to be fair, what they did as a day job. I'm not interested in what's going on in the background. It was about me. I'm not well, I ring up, I want to come in, I want an appointment to see a doctor, and I want to see the doctor, get sorted, done, job done. And to be fair, I would expect what most patients are feeling, and that's fair enough. I think having worked with them now, I have a better understanding of the complexities in the GP world that these people have to put up with. I don't understand it in any great detail. I'm literally scratching the surface here. But the pressures that they're under, the restrictions, the admin, the non-clinical, clinical colleagues that they're dealing with, the admin, the lack of resources, technologies to say the least, I do recognise the pressures they're under, which has changed my perspective significantly as a patient.
And so when you've kind of had that experience then, like you say, being a patient and then switches to the other side, do you think you can give a kind of nuanced message to other patients really of like how they should behave towards these people, when you're making
I think, when I ring up now practice, I'm using the same telephone number as everybody else. There's no magic bat phone here. So I ring up, and instead of, as maybe in the past I would have rung up, listened to a phone ringing and been winding myself up listening to it, I recognise now the phone will be answered, probably be answered by someone under pressure and stressed at the other end. So I take a breath and I have a think about, what am I actually going to say to that person when they answer the phone? How can I be clear and concise, get my message across so the two of us can get done, get off the phone, and they can move on. And when I walk into a practice now, I don't look at some empty chairs and think, not that busy. I see the empty chairs now and I think, they're pretty organised. Things are running to time. Great. When I walk in the door and the receptionist is on the phone, looks at me and maybe does or doesn't acknowledge me, I don't think, well, that's your job. You're just answering the phone and, that's your lot. I recognise now that there's 101 things going on in the background. This is multitasking at its best. And the fact that she's maybe making me think that she's only on the phone or only dealing with, that's a skill in itself. She's giving me her priorities as she deals with me. So, those are the sort of things I recognise now. We're all under pressure. We've all got a lot of stuff going on, and we're all at the end of our tether, and generally add that to ill health, and that is a recipe for disaster. But these people understand that, and their job is to lead us where we need to be. So whereas I used to think I'd ring up and get asked questions, and you think you're being nosy, I recognise that those questions in the GP world are known as triaging. Didn't know that. But they are asking me the questions to determine the right information that I don't know because I'm not being clear. So it's about doing the job, getting me where we need to do, using those limited resources as best they can, getting me seen as a patient. And that's their job, and that's how I understand their knowledge and skills in that respect, because they are very highly trained in dealing with the likes of us patients.
Do you think there's a level of almost myth busting we just kind of need to do for patients? They know that, that triaging, that sort of, all these things are going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I really did not recognise this at all, and I've absolutely no doubt I've been curt in the past. I would like to say I've not been rude or abusive, and I sincerely hope not. But yeah, I've no doubt I've been curt, and as I say, understanding it and much better now. That's what I wanted to try and get that message across today, because as I say, when we start now moving on to the abuse that is coming, I think when I started meeting with the team on a regular basis, I was expecting to hear about grumbling patients. We've all been there, you know, and I thought that was the norm. But hearing what they're saying, I have been truly astounded and shocked by the level of abuse that they all seem to be. You know, Carol's experienced it firsthand. I haven't. This is about every, reception staff, practice manager, and she said moving to clinical across the Isle of Man is now experiencing this. And some examples I'd like to say, because I haven't experienced, that have been given to me from across the board. And this is on the basis of when people are being abusive, they're targeting their comments to hurt and affect staff personally. It's not throwaway comments. So things that can affect them. So as I say, I'm reading from a list now that has been given me, because I was quite astounded. Telling a member of staff that I'm going to take all my tablets now because you're not giving me what I want. Effectively, this is implying it's their fault, and they have to try and deal with that. No one likes you. You're useless. Well, these are people that are highly trained. They're there every day putting up with this, trying to help the rest of us. Again, I recognise I might not have recognised that in the first part. I do now. Patients telling a staff member that she was perhaps the reason why suicide rate was so high. What a horrendous thing to hear as an individual doing your job. That is shocking. People that are not going out and enjoying their social life, we're on the Isle of Man, we know that, but they are getting perhaps targeted or recognised when they're out, and it's hindering their social life. And all of this, one incident, it's not one incident, it keeps going on. It'll end up being the straw that breaks, the camel's back, as they say. So we've got staff members leaving, experienced, new staff coming in, seeing what's going on, and heading out the door. It's just, how do we keep these people if this is what's happening? And there's, how do we protect them? And every resource going into trying to support them is more resources and more time. It's a never-ending circle, really. And as I wanted to try, and I was shocked by these, and that's why I wanted to repeat those and let people know. And I do think about, that could be me coming to work, that could be you coming to work every day, and having to prime yourself at that level of aggression and abuse. It's just, how do you do that? Blue light workers, I salute you. I recognise that, but the general people coming to do a job in an administrative, they're here to help us. To put themselves in that situation, I think is, I don't know how they do it. I certainly couldn't do that. And again, in thinking about what Carol said, a quick summary just of what she was trying to get as a message across. This is the whole island. This isn't one individual practice. This has been going on for a long time and is getting progressively worse, which is why we're trying to get that message out to people. Marked increase in the verbal abuse, particularly over the phone. I suppose that's easier, isn't it? People aren't face-to-face with people, and you can try and cut yourself off a little easier. It is causing staff absence, which is an effect on all of us. So that one person might feel a little bit better when they're shouting, but there's a significant risk here of errors being made as well while somebody is either going through that or witnessing somebody else going through that. We have to recognise that, not just for their own record, or, it could be 2 or 3 steps after that where this is still affecting the individual. And I think, as I say, our staff are highly trained and they're used to this, and they need to know that they can come into work and try and enjoy a job. And I think we need to recognise our poor behaviour, and people need to be aware. And I'm sure everybody that knows me is rolling their eyes as I say this. Be aware of our own behaviour, if it's poor, and do something to adjust it. And I do include myself in that. Effectively, be nice. It's all for our own benefit, and recognise the consequences of actions, because these are significant.